Hello and welcome to An Evening with Comrades. My name is TK Jones and I will be your host tonight. With us we have Liam.
Full stop. At Big Guy Liam. How much does the USA State Department pay you to silence Discord about pragmatic leftism? $10 a month? $100 a month? $1,000 a month?
We also have with us Eugene.
Hey, what up, people?
We have Pulsatis Pac-Man.
Nuke the whale, save the planet!
And joining us tonight we have CouncilCom. Welcome, CouncilCom.
Welcome. Still spreading cultural Bolshevism everywhere.
That's good. That's the good shit. Don't forget to like and subscribe and visit easternmarshlands.com for everything Eastern Marshlands. And lads,
please share
how
this
are we?
live stream on Twitter. Share this live stream on Twitter. Get the word out, please. Let's get the people in the chats.
Share on Twitter. Join us in the chat. Let's have a good old cracking time. But apologies to anyone in Europe who are now suffering under Article 13 and are unable to post memes.
No,
Memes are
it's
bad
actually
now.
not through yet. It's not through yet.
Oh, is it?
No, there's a little bit of time left. It passed, but there hasn't officially gone into action yet.
Is everybody just mass downloading all the memes they can to try to survive?
Yes.
So
now we should not only be scared of neoliberalism if we join European Union, if we start integrating, but also scared that my memes, they will take away my memes. Brussels, hands off my fucking memes.
Who knew like the masses would be or could be organized and brought together for the love of funny images on the internet?
I know, right?
We are at a crossroads, gentlemen, because at the end of the day, our party policy and our party platform in the new era can only be the two-stage vanguard policy. First, we seize the memes, and then we seize the means.
I agree.
This is the only way to achieve victory in the modern world. Memes are the future of political propaganda, and we are its wielder.
Future? They are the now, comrade.
Yeah, Brigadier General Strike in the comment section says posting memes will soon be illegalist praxis.
I agree.
At this point, basically, the way things are going, just being a communist is a legalist praxis by now. Let's be fair.
In America, yeah, it's illegal to be a communist, so.
Still is. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good transition into what I wanted to talk about as the first topic for today. And it is an event that happened some time ago, and I think it's a high time to reflect on it as shitposters, as shitposting international. So remember some time ago the Russian meme, how about that, Elon Musk, was trending like worldwide. Do you remember that meme?
I don't know. I'm gonna Google it right
Basically, it showed like the basic premise is that there was some weird shenanigan, like, you know, an extension cord plugged into itself, you know, for infinite energy.
now.
And there is a picture of Elon Musk happily like holding his head with a happy face, you know, and it's like, hey, Elon Musk, look at this fucking invention. And a lot of Americans got confused because they're like, hey, why are you like telling that to Elon Musk? He doesn't know Russian. Why are you posting that? And that started a fucking floodgate of Russian memes that poured into Twitter. And that exposed a very, very, very important thing. You should understand that Slavic memes in general are extremely abstract. Like your e-posting memes have nothing on fucking mouse sneaking. Like you should Google that, mouse sneaking. It's very good. But basically, Russian memes are extremely abstract. And to truly understand them, you should understand the Russian soul. There was a lot of talk of what the Russian soul is. And I must extend it to the Slavic soul. The true Slavic soul is to be utterly depressed. Like, you're so fucking depressed. It's not that you're sad. You're like, okay. But your soul is corrupted with depression. That's the only way to truly
Jesus.
comprehend Russian memes is to be really, really fucking depressed and bummed out all the time, so that the only thing that makes you smile is a funny cat and alcohol. That's it.
Oh, the
And
really fat cat that wants loops, and it's like, I just have fluffy bones. Give me the ringlets.
yeah, that's one of the yeah, exactly, something like that.
We
So
made. I just realized there is a form of cultural appropriation now, because like Anglo-speaking or English-speaking people have taken that image and replaced it with English words, and they're calling them loops. And there's a
Yeah.
there's a
Probably
whole
why they have
Oh, wow.
loops thing now.
Yeah.
So we took a meme that we didn't understand because it was in Russian, and it's like, fluffy bones, what are you talking about? And we've put it and made him say loops, and we appropriated Russian culture because we weren't sad enough.
Yes, you didn't really get it, and you just appropriated it. The problem is that there is a possibility that the Russian memes could utterly die because of this exposure, but I believe that there is something else going on. I think of shitposting as basically an epoch of Chinese. I would like to compare it to Chinese history. Remember the Three Kingdoms fighting it off in the legendary age of China?
Hmm.
That's what shitposting is for me. There are the Australians, there are the Americans, and there are the I don't know who else. Who else is the combatant in the war?
You have the Russians, the UK, and the Americans all just sticking to themselves, and
No,
then
it's
everything
Australians,
changed.
UK, and America,
No,
and
no,
like
everything
they all
changed when
fighting.
the Australians attacked.
Yes, and the point is that the Russians are also there, but they are the fucking monastery on the mountain with very, very strong spiritual kung fu. And
They are the Tibetans in this Chinese Civil
yes,
War.
Russian shitposters are the Tibetans in the mountains. And when this very old and very high level energy is exposed to the normies, who are everyone else compared to Russians, to be honest, this is when a breaking point happens. Either those memes will be appropriated by one of the sides and they will win those shitposting wars, or they will be completely misunderstood and go back to the mountain to dwell on the depression of the Slavic mind, and that's it.
Although, I think you're missing out a core division of shitposters, a group of shitposters who are transcending everyone else's.
It is the Russians, dude. You don't even start with me. Don't even start.
No,
Russians are transcending memes. Come on.
Do you
no.
do you think that memes could become like an actual practice? Like you could
Memes
try
are practice.
and memes are practice. Like you could use memes as a form of meta politics in order to like gain cultural hegemony. Like you could use memes to attack capitalist ideology.
Well, the
I
thing is,
don't-
no one uses. Back in the old days, in the streets of the old Weimar Republic, in the dark days, it was all like posters on street corners. We don't have posters on street corners now. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have communist propaganda is in of itself now agitation in public forums online. It's simply a
I
technological
disagree with you
evolution.
partially. I see a lot of shitposters saying that, a lot of leftists on the internet are saying that, but I have to disagree. I believe that memes is something else. It's not just agitation. It's a form of self-expression because it comes from the frustration with the world. Like a communist sees the world and he's frustrated, and the way he expresses that is by going on Discord and Facebook groups and posting edgy communist memes that he or she created. Like memes are a form of self-expression always, and if we talk about radical left memes, it is a form of frustration with capital. Of course it can work as propaganda, but it's something else. It's a glimpse into the soul of a creator of these memes. It's more of an art form rather than agitation.
Like memes can only say so much. They make people laugh, and then what they do is they like, then they scroll, and then they forget
Yeah.
about it. The trick is to
with the theory you have to engage, and memes do provide this uh, sort of gateway to that, of course, but it's not really agitation, in my opinion. True agitation happens when you go face to face with a person who, like, basically, you know what? When the agitation truly happens, it's when a person who is like a centrist normie guy, and he goes on Facebook and he sees a bunch of communist memes and he starts laughing at Stalin pictures, right? And then he knows that at his work there is this big guy Liam working there, right? And he's like, "Hey, big guy, hey, what's up with the communism thing?" And he's like, "Okay, let me
Pretending
explain."
I'm not a meme.
I think the
And
way
you
I
know-
mainly agitate is when I go to parties with my friends and I see a friend of a friend who voted for Liberal. I yell out across the room, "Yo, Mike, why do you hate the poor?"
like that's a bit more direct, but in my
Yeah.
opinion it happens when people are getting exposed to our culture more and more, because we could, like, our inner memes, our inner communications, our music and art and movies, right, our discussions, and then they are basically pushed to the fact that, hey, I have to engage with it because it confuses me. Like, there is this guy who goes around saying that he's a communist, right? And in my mind, as a, like, for example, as a centrist, I'm like, how can he do that? It's impossible because of all this propaganda that I know, that I've been told, right? And he's like, I must engage with him because it doesn't sit in my head. This is when
What-
the agitation, the breaking
what
point
do-
happens.
what do
That
you think?
fallacy
personal
there-
relationship.
The fallacy there is you're assuming that a centrist would ever like try to have a discussion with a communist.
Not even a discussion. The person may come up to you and start hating on communism all of a sudden. And you're like, dude, stop. Like, I
Unpack
wasn't
this
saying
box,
anything. You're
dude.
already shouting about the personal rights and
What,
stuff.
what do you think the average normie immediately thinks when they hear the word communism?
Ah,
Utopianism.
Gulags,
Utopia.
gulag.
Stalin,
Yeah,
Stalin,
Gulag,
utopia.
communism.
100 billion dead, etc., etc. Those are part of
The left
The
are the
state-
real fascists.
yeah. The left is the real fascist. Anti-fascism is real fascism, etc., etc. So that's part of the state's ideological apparatus. Like that is, it's ideology.
Yeah, but at the same time, I
Big
agree,
sniff.
and this is the reason why they engage, because it contradicts their, like, reason. It's like, I consider you a fellow man, a fellow coworker, a friend, to be like a non-genocidal friend I have, right? And you're a communist. How can this happen? And there are two responses to that, and both of them are cool with us. Number one is, how can you support Stalin? A question that is asked to, like, all of a sudden to an
Everyone.
anarchist. Like, you're
Yeah.
an anarchist, the guy approaches you and starts to talk to you about Stalin, right? It's one thing. And the second one is, hey, can you explain how is that supposed to work? I'm actually interested. And that's like the next level of that. Both of the things, they all come from the contradictions that come from the frustration with, how can you do that? How can you support that? It doesn't make sense, right? Because it contradicts the ideology and the propaganda. And this is an extremely important point. Like, it's when you show by example, you show praxis, you show what you do to help people, what you do in your in your political work. Like, what is your political work? And they see that you're doing some praxis, and they're like, what is going on? Explain. I don't understand. So I believe that memes play a role in this pipeline. It's like memes to Stalinist pipeline, and it's very important. There is the centrist to fascist pipeline, right? Classical liberal to fascism. There is another one. It's meme pages to Stalinism pipeline.
Scratchy libertarian and fascist bleeds.
Yeah. So I believe that interpersonal communication is extremely important, and slowly exposing people to radical thoughts around you is important, because people are, like, the feelings that you have with the frustration with capitalism that we have, that we discuss, the
Mhm.
frustration with exploitation and stuff like that. Everyone experiences that. Everyone. The difference is we have the language to express it. Some people don't. You know?
I think
Well, I
that's
don't know about-
very true. I think, for example, at my last job, I was working as a caravan service technician, and the person that was in charge of my workshop said to me, I don't actually like this job. I need to work here because I need to get enough money to survive, basically. And it just like to me that he has an intrinsic understanding of alienation, but he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He can't express it. Like Marx is trying to find out things that already exist in reality. Like he's a scientist.
I think that happens a lot where people, even if they're comrades, even if or potential comrades, and they're starting to read a lot of discourse and whatnot, like Marx and Paul Cockshott and this and that, but you say to them, "This is how alienation works. This is how basic stuff like the Leb theory of value works," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I understand it, but I haven't really experienced it." But it's like, it's there. You experience it every day, but they're just they don't see it on themselves. They think that exploitation is like what's happening in sweatshops, whereas they're just putting a couple of buns around a burger and serving it to someone in McDonald's. Like, they're not exploited, are they?
Yeah, again, this is because the language, and this is because of ideology. Like, I have at work, I have to explain to my coworkers, teammates, that white heterosexual males are not the most exploited class in the world. I have these conversations. Like, I have to defend Battlefield 5 for having differently colored people in them.
Do not start me on that shit. I will go for fucking hours.
Oh god!
I have to tell them, whatever. Like, that's the basic answer. It's like with the Witcher movie and the co-lead female lead. They are basically looking for a minority actress to play a role who's in the book and in the game is a pale-skinned blonde girl, right? And they're looking for a minority actress for that. And they're like, they are making this character, I don't know the name, an Indian or black. This is terrible. This is not pure. This is not good. This is not how the books were. And I'm like, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Hey. And I have to have these conversations about inclusion and human fucking rights. And they're talking about fucking diversity quotas, and I'm telling them, do you know that if you have a black sounding name in America, the chances that you will be asked to come for an interview based on your CV is basically halved if you have a black sounding name. And they're like, I have to talk to them about those things. I'm not even close to democracy at work.
I have the same trouble with my dad because my dad is the biggest potential comrade, but he would be the worst comrade because he talks a lot about how he's a worker on a job and the people above him only see him as labor. I'm like, oh, he's using the word. He said the word. And he's like, I'm just a contract to them. And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. And he's talking about how he's in the union. And I'm like, oh, he's saying all the things. And then for some reason, all of a sudden, he'll say the most racist, misogynistic shit. And I'm like...
So you know what the problem is? It's that's the thing. You see, yeah, I'm just a contract. But the thing is, the reason my contract's bad, you know what's driving wages down? They're able to pay those fucking black fellas half the price.
Exactly. And you know what?
That is so true. God.
I saw it just now. We're just talking about how fucking union people and they can be comrades, but sometimes they're not. CFMEU Facebook page literally just made a post about fucking immigrant workers. Literally just made one.
What is it about? Immigrant workers what, exactly?
It's like they're taking jobs from union boys or some shit. I didn't read that.
I know that during the early part of the 20th century and the late part of the 19th century, like the American unions, like the Knights of Labor, for example, wouldn't employ they wouldn't recruit from Chinese and black laborers. They weren't allowed in the unions.
Yeah, of course.
Hmm.
It's like IWW was the one of the first unions
yeah, exactly.
that accepted people of color, I believe.
Yeah, the National Union of Workers, my union, has a very, very strong anti-racism policy, which is good. I love hey Glattux. I love my union to death. It's
Hello,
just a
Glattux.
shame that our fucking leadership did that. Well, one of the guys in our leadership like blew union money. That guy got fucking
My
wrecked.
local trades hall council secretary, I was talking to him about all the different unions, and he described that one, and he's like, "Oh, they're great, but like they have an anti-racist policy for a reason," and I'm like, it's one of those ones, because it's like you throw a rock and you talk to whoever the rock hits in that union, and they'll talk like for hours about labor theory of value, how we're exploited. It's about good wages, safety, and whatnot. And they're like, oh yeah, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of it's all like older white men. What about the people? The minority workers down in Melbourne, and they're like, we got to focus on what's important. Like,
well, I think that's
it's
just
like Sweden Democrat having the anti-racist policies in them, where they're like, okay, people, let's have like, if you're associated with Alternative for Sweden, you're kicked out of the party.
Yeah.
It's like
you got to have anti-racist policies because of all the racist
memes and stuff.
Yeah, but again, I think the big issue is, I think it's the same thing in America. It's not so much the union and the labor movement itself, it's the endemic state of the social politics of Australia and the United States.
Yes.
We are fucking racist as hell.
It's the power structure that is racist that reflects in the people, yeah.
I think it's to a point where people some people benefit from it so much, but they don't see it, that they get very scared when we say like we want to start tearing these power structures down, and there's some people who are so oppressed by it that they don't realize that it can be torn down. And I guess it comes back into that thing of like people are so alienated, they can understand that there's oppression, but then they can't see it in front of them.
Or the impression is a safety net.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can go.
I want to say that it reminds me of what Professor Wolf said. It says, like, when you go to your job and you like work 8 hours, then you go out and feel like you feel like you've been ripped off somehow. And then he says, then actually, it's not a feeling. You're factually correct. You have been ripped off. That's exactly what just happened because of value extraction. It says that culture reflects it by having, how is it called when you go to bar after a work day? What's this time called?
Pub o'clock, beer o'clock, or
happy time, happy hour.
Happy hour. Yeah.
Happy hour is called happy hour because it sort of indicates that the hours before happy hour were not happy at all. Because this is the time when you're exploited at work. Yeah, like we sort of understand that, but we don't have a language to express it usually. That's why like engaging people is so fucking important. Like on their terms, not in terms of academic language, but with them.
The trouble is you'll most of the time you'll encounter people like my dad, where at first it sounds like they're all that he's a union man, he's a worker, and then he completely misses the fucking point on everything else.
Yeah,
where it's like,
it reminds me of my dad. Yeah, my dad does the similar thing, and it was really fun when he sort of mentioned the wave of immigrants in Germany. And he's like, the German immigrants, they all flock into there. It's like, why are they doing this? And I'm like, because their homeland is devastated and they want to live in a nice place with nice welfare. It's like, exactly, and the waves, they don't assimilate, blah blah blah. And I'm like, do you know that Germany's crime rate is down? And he's like, is it? And then he literally Googles it in front of me, finds an article in Deutsche Welle, German newspaper and radio station, where the basically immigrant skeptic police chief of Germany, a guy who was like thinking that the policy direct like an inclusive policy to immigrants is bad for Germany, reported that the crime rate is down and it's lowest it has been for the past 25 years. It's like, hey, hello, there is no such thing as a wave of immigrant crime. And it's so fun because it's one of the things that you can do. Use facts. A lot
Facts and
to
logic
destroy
is joy.
Listen, Vikingers. The fact don't care about your feelings.
Exactly. Facts don't care about your feelings. Slam is fucking down. Like, shut the fuck up about the immigrant crime.
I love that. It's like, show me where the crime is going down. It's like, it's right here, and it's like,
In front of your fucking face. Like,
yeah, but that's biased data. I want to hear it from the people that I support. Like, here is the people that you support, the party you vote for, saying that crime is down. It's like, oh well, they were paid by the corporate shills, and like that's what we say.
The
We're saying
Jews.
corporations are bad. Corporations are saying that the crime rate is high so that you'll buy security doors and security cameras. It's like, oh, but it's all a conspiracy. Like, yeah, it is. Oh, and it's like
You're just part of the conspiracy.
yeah, people. I go AFK for a couple of minutes. I'll be right back.
it's all good, man.
Okay.
But yeah, even if you use like logic and facts and whatnot, that whole thing, a big hammer with logic written on it. If you don't use the facts that they want to hear, then they just won't listen. And like, I'm still like, when I saw my family on Saturday, I was so so angry because if they don't understand, like we were talking politics, and it's like, if they don't understand, then I didn't explain it well enough. If they don't agree, then well, that's fine. Like I wasn't very convincing. But the problem that I found talking to them and lots of people online and people I'm trying to get to unionize is that they don't listen.
They refuse.
Yeah, they don't want to listen because they just want to. A lot of them just want to work and then go home and then relax. They don't want to be told that oh, you're working a job but you're exploited. It's like, I don't.
That's exactly what I was going to say before. Is that people think that there's no change and they're comfortable being oppressed, so they don't go out of their way to see if there's something better, and they refuse to even contemplate something better for the fear that their safety net or their comfortable oppression is going to be destroyed and they'll have nothing, which is an understandable fear. But honestly, just get over it. Like, it sounds like a big thing to say, but like, just
fear
get
of
over
the
it.
unknown is fear of the unknown is something which, as a Posadist, I personally relish in. We do not know what tomorrow will bring, so it is up to us to bring about the tomorrow we want.
It sounds cliche, but be the change you want to make.
Yeah. Oh,
if you want to nuke the world, go out and fucking nuke the world.
Oh, my friend,
You know
I've
what
got
I
a
mean?
plan. Now that
You
you
want
did,
something to happen, make it happen.
I think the special case with my dad is that for a while when he was younger, he gets this certain way of like how the world works, and of course, this is the 80s, so it's very Rodney King beating levels of racism, that kind of stuff, and women in the workplace. What a concept! So my dad just is like, knows that's how the world works, and he sort of locks himself away from any change and just wants to work, just wants to have his son, which is me. And then later on, as the internet comes around and he starts talking to people, he all of a sudden, when he tries to say anything, he's basing it on everything he learnt during the 80s and 90s, which was racist and misogynistic and problematic. And all of a sudden, he wonders why. Why is it? And he feels attacked. And that's a big problem we have when we're trying to make the change we want to see in the world, because we have to come up to these people who have never been told that what they're doing is bad, and we have to be the ones to say, hey, you're doing bad things. Whether it be a manager that's exploiting his workers, or if it's someone being racist, suddenly we look like the attackers because we've come out of nowhere. We've come out of like the dark under a rock to be all like, your tweets are problematic, because that's how they see us. I think like the question, of course, is like, what kind of a language, or how do we act to break through this stereotype that the left, finger quotes, the left has in trying to reach these people?
Become more normalized, like become widespread.
What?
The more people that know the more people that know we exist and we're loud about it, the more normal it gets that we're loud about it, and the more people that change. We're doing what we're doing. We're doing the right thing right now. I don't think we have to
You
change.
cut out for a bit there.
Oh, sorry. I don't think we have to change in what we're doing. The left is growing exponentially. We're like exploding compared to the past years. I'm going to leave and come back if I'm cutting out so much.
All
But don't if you want to convince people, don't go all in the first time. It's a pretty overwhelming to say everything at once.
Okay, so don't jump in with like, have you heard about our Lord and Savior Stalin?
All right, I'm back. It's the old Australian internet meme.
We were just Gladys was saying don't, when you talk to people, don't jump in with everything all at once.
Yeah, pretty much. And we've been like everyone. We're always trying to better ourselves, and that's a good thing about the left. We're always trying to be better. But where reactionaries try to go back, we try to go forward. And
for opening up, you should start with, do you think we should have higher wages, more holiday, more paid vacation, less work hours? All the selfish things that people want.
Yeah, it's all about needs and wants and materialism.
You grab them by their materialism, by their ego.
Yeah, exactly. But I was saying, the left is doing the right thing right now. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not. Well, some things we do wrong, but it's pretty minor. The left is growing exponentially. We're probably the largest we've been in a long time. And that's because we're doing the right thing. We're talking to people. And we can be better. Of course we can. There's no perfect way to turn someone into a leftist. But we're doing well, which is pretty, like, I think it's amazing that we're doing so well. Like, everyone sits down and they say, oh, we don't have that many leftists. But the amount of silent communists out there who do praxis in real life, who go out to the structures and do things.
The amount of counter protesters that always show up to fasci rallies in America and around the world is amazing.
There's not a lot of loud voices.
Yeah, it's a constant, like, the lowest I've seen is like 3-1 at some rallies.
Yeah.
And it's all because of like uniting against, like, instead of unite the right, it's uniting against the right.
Exactly. There's not a lot of loud yellers in the left compared to the right. The right is tiny, but they make themselves look big because they're loud.
Speaking of something,
the left is massive, but we're not loud. Sorry.
People always say the right is united and the left is divided, but when you look at it, right-wing people will kill each other or throw each other under the bus whenever they can.
I think a little while ago there was a group trying to have a rally. I think yeah, it was an Australian thing. I think it was like True Blue Crew were going to have some kind of a rally, and the old UPF crew who were then a part of the True Blue Crew were like, "Why would you do this? This type of rally is stupid. Why would you be behind this? We're going to have a rally against you." Over this small issue, they were going to counter rally their own rally.
Yeah, exactly. The right is not united. They pretend they are, and everyone thinks they are, but they're not. They hate each other more than the leftists hate each other.
It's just
We
that
have a common. The thing about leftists is, but we have a common enemy. There is no
menfolds.
different opinion. Capitalism is bad. It is the enemy. Fascism is bad. It is the enemy. Red Brown Alliance be fucked. I know like one person who thinks that's a good idea, and I don't even know them anymore. We have a united enemy. They have different ideas of who the enemy is. Is it the communists? Is it the Negroes? Is it the Islams? Like they
It's all
don't
of them.
know
All of
who
them.
everyone is the enemy, so they don't
Yeah,
have a
everyone's the enemy.
united point of view. We have one enemy, they have hundreds of thousands.
It's still the Jews, to be honest.
It is.
Depends who you ask.
Why does it always come back to the Jews? Like, I don't get it. It's oh god, like you have a militia group in America that's like, we want to protect the right of the Second Amendment for us to have guns, and just in case there's a tyrannical government. Oh really? Like, who's taken away the right to the Second Amendment? Oh, the Jews. Like, what?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. I still haven't gotten my Soros check.
I know, me too. Still waiting.
Speaking of that, I don't know, like what you guys were saying just before about how there's a lot of closet leftists. I know I've talked about it a million times on the show before, but I openly spread communist propaganda at my job. I do.
You've said it so many times.
I do it. And I did it just today, in fact. And I made a comment which most people have been interesting. I asked them, like, and I run into lots of left-leaning people, whether they be far left, liberal left, centre left, sock Dems, Dem socks, you name it. I run into them all. Liberals everywhere. But you talk to them, and all of them openly agree. Like, I have only met, like, besides the racism and nationalism aspect, which is quite big amongst Australians, like, we have an awful, like, frankly, a third of this country is Nazbol. I'll be honest. I know that sounds. I'm being serious. Like, well, slightly ironic because Nazbol in itself is a meme, but like in terms of the colloquial term of a Nazbol, yeah, like it's very much xenophobia and nationalism are a big component, but everything else, like social policies, healthcare, education, all that shit like that,
Rights of
they're
workers.
either liberal left, or they're heading towards Demsoc territory, right? And so I asked the question. I made a comment to like 10 people so far in making this, and it's the question. You look at Australian politics and you look at the representatives. Like, I speak to most Australians and I see a centre left or hard left or even maybe centre right a little bit, excluding people from North Queensland because they're fashy. But besides them, pretty much everyone else is either on the centre or on the left, basically. And yet all of our politicians are either centre right or far right. And I posed that question to them, and they're all like, "Yeah, you're right. I know. I've noticed the same thing." And I'm like, okay, so you've noticed that our politicians are either right wing or heavily right wing, or yet you've accepted that most of us are either centrist or left wing. Yeah, so maybe these politicians are defending the interests of big business and capital, and not the actual working class and the people that live in the country. No, it's the foreigners.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I was about to talk about. I'm also somewhat openly communist. to my classmates in university, which is not that much of a big deal, but I find myself advocating for at least market socialism. Because basically, people don't really disagree with getting rid of the shareholders. With wouldn't it be better if the company money went to the employee instead of some shareholders that don't work or create financial crash? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh fuck! I just remembered something. I forgot to tell you about it before, guys. The companies have now started to say, instead of pressing charges or going to courts for sexual assault in the workplace, they're going to be taking or docking pay, and that has made sexual assault in some workplaces go down by over 20%.
Jesus.
So people care about money more than going to prison. That's
Yeah.
capital for you right there.
The other way to look at it is like if someone earns, say, $100 a day, and for every incident, it's like they'll knock off $20. Someone will think, it's only $20 to commit this crime.
Yeah.
I
It's
get paid
problematic.
$100. I could do this 5 times a day.
It's like, oh my god, what the hell?
Yeah,
Well-
and I was listening to your conversation while my computer was down, and you were talking about Australia being xenophobic and basically an asshole.
Yeah.
To be honest, a return to national communism is a viable option. And not national communism of Nazbol of Germany, but the national communism of Ukraine.
Mm.
The origin
Hello and
place
welcome
of
to an evening
old
with
school national
Nazbols.
communism. It was the basic idea. It was actually a very cool idea. It was like, let Ukraine be 100% socialist, worker-controlled Soviets, blah, 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 but without the Russians. Russians get out. No Soviet Union, independent socialist state of Ukraine. That was the basic premise. And their ideology is rather workable. Like, it's the basic idea of don't let, your people will be able to prosper under socialism more, and then sort of, introduce the solidarity in there, internationalism, the idea that everybody does that, not only you, but all of us. So, yeah, I think it's workable.
Gang.
Workable but problematic. Because I think Australians are very used to how things are, and as soon as you try to change it, they'll get mad and try to glass you.
But that's everyone.
Oh, I mean, like in the smallest way possible, where it's like, or even if you in the way you try to say enforce it, maybe, where it's like, we want to increase taxes by 0.001%. Suddenly, they'll get mad, completely like foaming at the mouth, mad, but they also won't do anything about it.
I mean, you've got to do that principle. Don't say to people what they can do for communism, but what communism can do for them.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Do you want a $200 weekly bonus as part of your shares for owning this company because you're doing labor and therefore contributing to the profit, so you should get some?
Yeah, that would work.
Everyone's like, yeah. Well, we can't because that's not how it works. Well, that is how it works. We're creating the profit, so why don't we get any?
Oh, sorry to shift the discussion a little bit, but I think before we went live, we were talking about workplace dissidents or something, workplace protests or something. Like, because we were talking about how I got a burger with no bun. I was going to tell that story. Yeah. Should I? I'll tell that one. So
Yeah, go for it.
So on Saturday, Went to see my family down in the state capital, wherever that may be. And on the ride down, we stopped in at McDonald's, and I ordered classic Angus, just a burger.
Oh, I love a classic Angus.
Yeah, classic Angus. Right. So it comes in the bag, and I sit and I take it. Thank you very much. I sit down, take the box out of the bag, open it up, and there's no bun. There's no bread. There's everything else. There's lettuce. There's the burger patty. There's the onion. But I ordered it with no tomato. And I take it back up, and I'm like, "Excuse me, what the hell is going on here?" That's a bit exaggerated, of course. And I'm like, "Would you mind if I could get this remade with the bun, but still no tomato?" And it's like, "Yep, no problem." The manager is the one saying this. Like, "Yep, no problem." She takes the first burger, throws it out, says to the people, the workers around the back, "Hey guys, could I get a classic Angus made up?" And I couldn't quite hear it, but all I could hear was the mumblings of every worker in the back being frustrated with the manager.
Oh God.
Yeah, like we're so
Ooh.
busy already. Like, what are you telling us to do this for? Why don't you come back here and do it? And the manager's like, "Don't argue, just do it." So they rush it through, and I get the classic Angus. And I sit back down, take it out of the bag, take it out of the box. It's got tomato in it. I'm like, Jesus. So I take it
Pick it
back
out.
up. I'm like, "Excuse me, thank you very much for remaking it, but it's got tomato in it, and I can't eat tomato. Do you mind if you remake it?" And the manager's like, "Yep, no problem, no whatsoever." Says to the guys in the back, "Could you make a classic Angus?" And the mumblings were like twice as loud now. And someone started mentioning, like, "I'm gonna call my delegate," and I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna call the union. Oh my God, maybe this is it. Maybe this
Don't
is the
get your
one."
hopes up.
I
Don't get
should.
your hopes up.
You should have come like a couple of more times to the counter asking
No.
to remake it to accelerate.
So
Don't get
I
your
think-
hopes up.
I think I
There.
reached the end point because I got the burger back, right? And I sat down, and my parents were like, "All right, we got to go see your brother. We got to go now." And I'm like, "I haven't even had my fucking burger." All right, fine. On the way out, I open the bag and I see it's like soggy. I'm like, "What the hell is going
Oh,
on?"
no. They
I
piss in
take-
your burger.
No. I take it out and I open it up, and it's just bukkakeed with sauce. Someone back there has taken the top off of the sauce bottle and just rinsed it all onto the goddamn burger. Possibly in an attempt to piss off the manager, because I look back and the manager's looking down at her like apron covered in sauce. And I see the look of fire in her eyes as if she's about to fire everyone in the back. And I could just see over the machines of everybody in the back doing like a T-pose, like, "What you gonna do" thing. And I wish I could have stayed to see the outcome, but I couldn't. But I like to imagine that there was some kind of massive protest.
It's
Amazing.
Well, two things about that story. One, sorry, eating pizza. One, those incompetent fucks didn't check their grill slip, or the person behind the register was a piece of shit and does not know how to listen, because I used to work at McDonald's. And number two, even bigger problem, he can't call his union rep because the union rep will do jack shit. Why? Because the union that Macca's has is integrated, and that's the SDA. So if they did call the union, what they'll do is they'll have a formal meeting, and the union rep will sit alongside and then say, "Oh, well, actually, your bosses are right. Could you please be nice and more respectful from now on?"
Oh, is that SDA?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
The fucking,
you
they're
gotta
the only
join.
conservative union. Like, they're a conservative union.
You gotta join the fast food workers union because they'll actually come
Actually-
in.
Fun fact, there's a new union in Victoria called Hospo Voice.
Hospo Voice.
They are a radical left, socialist-run hospitality union.
My dick is hard.
This is really good.
Here
Alright,
we
so
fucking go.
I'm on their website right now. I'll chuck it in the chat for everybody.
Are we
Um,
talking like we're talking wobbly style, like hardcore?
Hospo
They
Voice
run.
or Hospitality
They
Union?
have connections with Salt, the CPA. I know Salt is a bit but connections with the CPA, which is still a bit Socialist Alliance, but they're really radical. I went to their opening night, and it's fucking look. They've even got a banner that says "Take wage theft off the menu." Like, come on,
These guys are fucking great. Oh,
yeah.
I'm
They
starting
are.
to think I want to get a job in hospitality just so I can join them.
yeah.
Not to
I'm so
mention their
fucking
website is
jealous of
fucking
you. Like, what
slick.
the fuck? You have fucking tons and tons of fucking unions.
We do, dude. Australian union culture is massive.
We have like a federation of Belarusian unions, which
Is
is
that government
basically
controlled?
it's the state controlled.
Yeah.
You don't even like you pay your fucking union dues and you get to go on vacation once in a life, like once in a fucking blue moon, and that's all they give you.
Yeah,
Um,
would you like me to list every trade union in Australia?
Well, we're
Don't
gonna be
no,
we
I
here
have
for
know that
fucking
there are a
years.
lot of them, and we have
Let me count, and
independent
I'll count, and I'll get back to you.
and there are like 3 independent unions, but I believe they're all liberal and they're
Yeah.
all they're basically conservatives, and like they were pretty cool in the 90s. One of them, they even organized a giant march of miners from the city of Soligorsk, which is a city where they mine like agricultural, like basically salts used for agriculture, right? And it's really massive and really cool, and we export a lot of them. Uh, and the miners did a march from the city of Soligorsk to Minsk on the highway with the union representatives. Like basically, the union organized this shit, and that made them to like basically improve their conditions tremendously. They allowed for more days off, increase of hourly salary and stuff like that, hourly wage. They got a lot of shit out of it, and I believe more than half, about around 80% of miners in Belarus are part of the union, and it's pretty cool. But I believe they are associated with the liberal parties, which is like Australian parties are the right wingers and fucking neocons who want to not even neocons, neoliberals want to join the European Union and shit, and that's their only policy. Hey, let's
73
destroy our
unions in
economy.
Australia.
70. Jesus.
73.
So yeah, we have like no unions and no parties.
No one has any unions. There's a
it-
Wikipedia page for the unions of the world, and Australia takes up most of the page.
I think there's like a very You're right. There's a very big union culture in Australia, but I think for like the wrong sort of reason. In that, um, the average worker thinks like, "Oh, I've got a job, better join the union," even though they won't do anything for me. That's about it. Like, there's not someone thinking, "Ah, yes, I want to join a union because I want to protect myself against the class conscious workers, owners above me." There's not people thinking, "Oh, I don't really want socialism, but I do want a good and healthy work environment. I better join the union and help them by being a member." There's a lot less of that, and there's more of like, "Oh, occasionally the union has a big barbecue. Oh, I like big barbecues. So I'm going to join the union."
It's like, oh, if I fall off a ladder at work, the union will probably help me out.
We have a big unions in France.
France's
But
unions are fucking great.
nah, they're pretty suck-dummy. But there is a big category of workers that isn't unionized.
I've heard that
Computer scientist.
I've heard that when like at the drop of a hat, French unions will go on strike or call a work stoppage. Is that true?
Not at the drop of a hat, but they will and can.
Yeah, like I love the fact that like if one major trade union in France goes on strike, the other 2 or 3 trade unions are like, well, they're on strike. Okay, so are we.
Oh man, I'd love that in Australia.
Yeah, I
Like,
wish
I
that would
remember
happen.
that massive strike where the entire French government just basically closed.
so, socialism or barbarism in the chat was like at the drop of a hat. No, at the drop of a baguette.
we drop the baguettes and then we drop the guillotines.
Dude,
That's how it
so
happened.
weird. All the Western white ex-British colonies have fucking unions out the asshole.
Yeah.
Canada has like 40 and South Africa has like 30.
And they're all fucking liberal.
Well, yeah, Canada, you could say that, but not fucking South America or South Africa. A lot of them are in union with the fucking Socialist Party that's killing the boas, kill all boas.
I think the reason Australia has so many unions is that some of them, I think, as stated before, is some of them are very white leaning. Because we even have a police union.
Yeah, we do.
Police union, stop.
Yeah, not only that, I was late to work the other day because the security union was on strike. That being the security union, let me translate that for you, guy. Prison guards.
Oh god.
Oh Jesus!
And they're not there to keep you safe. They're there to corral you into your little cubicles to do the bidding of the owners.
Yes.
No, well, like it's like, you know, community police and prison guards and all those guys are all on strike.
PSOs.
Public safety officers, yeah.
Yay! I love them. They're the best people.
So are they up PSOs? Oh, Barbie, hello, welcome.
What's up?
Welcome.
Barbie's
Hello,
having
Barbie.
particularly fresh.
We were talking
What?
about unions and whatnot. How are the unions in America, or do they just are they not?
They don't exist.
Isn't it like the FAL-CIO, IOU, and that's it basically? And like I know that they took money from the CIA. Not strike.
Who hasn't taken money from the CIA? To be honest, like fucking, I've taken money from the CIA. If you like, on Twitter.
Apparently, I'm taking money from the CIA, according to Mr. Juche follower on Twitter.
Like the CIA, you know, like those take a penny, leave a penny things, or like gas stations. Like that's basically just what the CIA is.
Take a penny, leave a penny is in fact a giant entrapment plan by the CIA to catch commies that only leave a penny.
Left communism is a CIA psyop.
Oh, jeez. Guys, I've got to hop off now. It's been great talking with you,
No
lads.
one wants you anyway.
No.
No, I'm just leaving because Soccerbub turned up.
Yeah.
Honest.
See you
Guys,
guys later.
Stop
It's a-
splitting the left.
It's a fucking
No.
anarchist infestation in here. God damn it.
All right, see you guys later.
Thanks for
Bye.
coming on, man.
Yeah,
Good to have
bye.
No
you.
problem.
No, but seriously though, fuck that guy.
I know.
Oh yeah.
Not a good person.
So we were going to talk about the big hurricanes that are about to hit the US because I have it written here in my notes. But perfect, Barbie. Are you okay? Like, are you on the East
Yeah.
Coast at all?
Yeah, like I'm fine. It was apparently like, what was it, fucking like Florence or some shit like that. Like it was literally, it actually did land. Well, they were predicting that it was going to land like pretty much right on top of me, and it turned out it didn't. It kind of like, the boundaries of it kind of landed on top of me, but by the time it's not even like a tropical storm. It's something called like a tropical depression. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but like it's literally just like some light rain and that's it. That's all I've had. Like I've heard there's been some flooding around like coastal areas, but who fucking cares about?
It's aquatic accelerationism, my dude.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the dolphins coming.
We all thought it was nukes that was going to help us build socialism with the aliens. But no, it's hurricanes, my
I
dudes.
think like I have a theory that like the flooding from this hurricane is actually just like this big marketing campaign from DC trying to build hype for the new Aquaman movie.
That might actually work. You know, incidentally, I don't know if you have heard Comrade High Commander's new synthesis, thanks to Comrade Communicator, but you know, Posada doesn't necessarily mean nuclear war. Nuclear war is the end of our own volition, but apocalyptic theory as part of accelerationism is actually legitimate in all forms of apocalypse. So the impending crisis of the environment brought about by capitalist exploitation and global warming is actually yet another form of accelerationism. So
Cool.
Theoretically, this hurricane is actually the righteous vengeance of our aquatic comrades, accelerating the dialectic to its
Well,
inevitable
back when like about a couple of days ago, about a week ago, when everyone thought like they said it was going to be like a once in a lifetime type of storm on like the news, which is total bullshit. As it turned out, it's like a very sort of mild tropical storm type thing, which I've gone through probably dozens in my lifetime. Like I fucking shit tropical storms. Like tropical storms are nothing. And back when everyone thought it was going to be like this big thing, like it was going to be like Katrina to Electric Boogaloo, I was making jokes about it on Twitter, and a friend of mine, said that I should start like a post-apocalyptic commune in the aftermath of it. And
Disaster
I actually like thought about it for a second. I thought, hey, that might actually be kind of an interesting idea.
Trouble with that is you set it up and then the National Guard will say, "Oh my God, they're looting," and then shoot you.
Just shoot them back.
Yeah. Wasn't the police already setting up to try to monitor people, for looters and whatnot?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
I have a feeling that you know what would happen if they did do that. No, if it really did get as bad as Katrina, you know what's gonna happen. It's just gonna be the same thing all over again. There's gonna be a black guy walking home with like a pallet full of water, and he stole it from a lovely, respectable middle class white family officer. And you know what would happen. And like it's already happened. Like, you know, oh no, cop invades someone's house and shoots the guy right in the face.
Cool.
And then like suddenly, oh my God, it's an innocent murder. Oh God, it's horrible. How sad. Oh, he had weed in his house. Ah, fucking druggy. That explains it. Good job, officer, getting that scum off the street.
Well, I actually do support like shooting people for smoking weed because that's way too light. Like that's ridiculously
Yeah.
Light. Like
if you're gonna
heroin
go
at
in,
minimum.
drop nukes as you drop acid. Live life as it goes.
It just seems like there's so much potential for disaster, not because there's giant fucking hurricanes on their way to America, but because it might be a repeat of like Katrina, and
Not really, no.
oh, thank God.
Better
But yeah,
carry about a shotgun.
I think
looters take your kids.
I think I was saying on the Discord,
Looting
like,
is cool. Like stealing in general is pretty cool.
illegalist praxis.
Just stealing in general is cool. Like I love stealing shit, bro. It's so much
You heard
fun.
it here
I love
first,
it.
folks. Stealing
Like,
is
I'm not even like shit posting. Like it's genuinely a fuck ton of fun.
As long as you do it from the fucking Borgies and not from the average worker. Like if you're talking about ramroading a fucking Walmart and looting the shit out of it, like hell yeah, count me in. But if you're talking some guy's house, yeah, nah.
Did you see, like, talking about disasters, did you see how many people were celebrating when that guy's, like, that super rich Borgie guy his house burnt down in the California fires. Everybody was
I heard about that.
celebrating, singing. That was great. Do you think like a similar thing is going to happen with these hurricanes? Like if the hurricane ever somehow
Nah.
makes it to DC?
Oh no! If a hurricane flattened DC and smashed the Capitol building, I'm pretty sure people would party. Not gonna lie.
No, I think DC
I know, I
is far
fucking
from
would.
like the coast for hurricanes, if I'm correct. Like they get snowstorms and shit up in DC, but I don't think they really get hurricanes, if I'm correct.
Damn. But I mean, that's an interesting aspect where like, a storm or some large event is so big that you're cut off from the main government that you're actually forced to govern yourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you see
disaster
that a lot
communism.
actually. There's
Yeah.
like some of like the like groups I follow on like Twitter and Instagram and just social media in general. They actually put out like guides on what is it like mutual aid, I think. Like that's the thing that you see with natural disasters and whatnot, because like fucking FEMA certainly isn't really gonna get the job done. It's a fucking joke. Like I've actually had some bad experiences with them myself, when these things actually turned out not to be as unsevere.
Well, you gotta be ready for those FEMA camps, boys.
The black helicopters.
Athletics, we can hear you breathing into your mic.
Sorry.
No, he like me is just anticipating
That's just
the
his fucking
cataclysmic
language.
collapse.
Like that's actually just like French words.
He's waiting to appreciate the cataclysmic collapse of the
Baguette.
capitalist hegemony.
Collapse.
I just look. I mean, I masturbate to the thought of WD-51s hitting the earth with a tremendous bang. But
Jesus.
at the end of the day, if a hurricane's all I'm getting,
You know, we might not even need like a half extinction level event, because when it went from Malcolm Turnbull to Scott Morrison, that whole thing, there was rumor and hearsay, I will admit, of people wanting to take over their local councils in order to govern themselves because they were sick of the federal government and their shit.
Cool.
I'm like, is this it? Is this? Oh my god, are we about to rise up? And then I realized that it was all the patriots saying it. So
yeah.
one, it had never happened, and two, it would like be dead in the ass within like 2 days from them infighting.
Well, I don't know. Like Scott Morrison, when it was announced that he was going to be prime minister, I could just hear a collective groan
Oh,
from
yeah.
from all of Australia. Like,
There was a quick sigh of relief after that first ballot where like, oh, thank God, Julie Bishop and Peter Dutton aren't the leader. Oh no, there's another one. Who's it going to be? And then the mass cringe happens when it was just ScoMo. Why is he called
Did
ScoMo?
Australia put that into its cringe compilation?
We've put the whole Liberal Party into the cringe compilation.
Libtards owned by Australians with facts and kangaroos. I don't know.
It's like it's been nothing but disaster for Scott Morrison so far, because he put out that tweet of that footage from Parliament remixed with Fat Man Scoop music, which is a big no with footage from Parliament House. And then there was that tweet where he was complaining about the quote gender whisperers in school. And then
Sounds like the worst Lifetime TV show ever.
Never gonna dance again. I think the big one though was that got a lot of people pissed off was when he was wanting to deregister the CFMEU because one of the CFMEU officials posted a tweet of his kids and the sign said like "fuck off, ScoMo" or something. And of course, like in Australian tradition, the CFMEU was like, "Fuck off, we'll deregister the Liberal Party."
just fucking watch me.
Wow, we have. I think we just had a beautiful moment. We have hit 20 viewers on an evening with comrades.
So everyone, please subscribe, share this, get the word
Please
out.
subscribe.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever reached. Oh, it's back down to 19. Never mind.
Oh,
Never
damn.
mind. Screw it.
Prick. You all suck.
No, you don't suck. The guy who disconnected sucks. Fuck off.
Yeah,
We will
we don't
destroy
want
you.
to.
Well,
Pretty sure I'm one of those people. Like, I have it open on the other tab. Like, I'm one of those people watching, so it's really only like 18, to be honest.
Fine. All right, let's screw it.
Whatever.
You should all just kill yourselves.
Hey.
Jesus.
You know, I have had once on one of my Fallout New Vegas streams, I had 31 people watching me, and all it was a bunch of people spamming fascist shit. Like,
Oh,
we had this one guy, like, because I was doing the Legion part of New Vegas, and like, you know, all the edgelords come up and they're like, oh, there was this one guy on my stream who I had to ban like 14 times, called Lit
That's
Boy.
No, you go ahead.
His name was Lit Boy, and I haven't seen him on any of my streams since. But the guy, like, literally just kept creating accounts just to come back on my stream.
Lit boy, more like shit boy.
Am I right?
Oh,
Trolling the
is
lip
it?
epic styles.
what is it with like crypto fascists and outing themselves when they like the obvious satire of fascism things in video games and movies?
Because they're fucking stupid.
Because like on a few like Fallout fan groups on shitposting groups on Facebook.
They're fucking reactionary as hell.
I know, right? Because I'll go in like thinking, "Oh, this will be great. It'll just be memes about, you know, the wasteland and whatnot." And I go in, and then there's people saying like, "All right,
Degenerates
guys."
like you deserve to be on the cross.
Yeah. Or they're like, "Hey guys,
And they'll
I
post a
think
picture
I
of
think
someone with
Kaiser's idea and philosophy might actually be viable. Perhaps we should form some kind of group around this." And I'm like, "Don't be fucking Roman Nazis. What the fuck?" Don't you understand?
Read
There's a-
Hegel and join the Communist Party.
Read Seed by James Mason.
the Siege book. Oh, the
Oh,
Siege
by
book
the way,
is an
Batman,
absolutely epic
I have
meme.
a fucking bone to pick with you
Me?
concerning the New Vegas thing.
Oh.
Pac-Man.
Yo, what?
I turned on one of the videos of you playing New Vegas, and you started with "Hello and welcome to," and this is copyrighted by email. You're not allowed to use it on any other server, any
Yeah,
other
Pac-Man.
YouTube channel.
An evening with comrades is a
You're a
sham.
plagiarist.
This is a big sting operation just for you. I've been deep
You started the
undercover.
video with our intro.
I didn't steal your fucking intro.
Well, it doesn't matter what you say. Stop.
Well,
That's
you know what?
thank you.
Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to Posadas Pac-Man not giving a single fuck.
Oh no. Owned.
Oh,
I will go back
Petit
to
à
my...
petit, there is no
Potato
property.
Gun in the comments is saying red posting is cancer. I'm like, absolutely, yes. Fallout red posting is where all of the people who unironically say degenerates like you belong on a cross are. Like, oh, I kid you not. There's like,
I am
Another
a member. I am an unironic member of Legion memes on Facebook.
well, that's ironic though.
I,
They don't post them like in support of Kaiser. They post memes as like, oh, look how funny this is because it exists in the world of Fallout New Vegas.
my favorite meme I saw on that page was was a picture of Vulpe and Coulter dabbing, and it's just this Nipton population 0. Dabbing like an absolute monster. I'm like, yes.
I would like to play that game. Like, someone needs to make that mod.
Oh,
What do you mean? What
Speaking
Fallout New
of-
Vegas?
Yeah, where like the Legion are just like memes, like they dab and shit.
I'm pretty sure there's a mod for it, but there is.
We need
I
to
just want to
need
say
to
quickly to a bunch of people
so that
listening.
it's literally teenagers doing the same voice, and we ask teenagers with crackling voices to record the lines, and we just make it a mod. That's it. That there is no other difference.
Oh,
It's just
no.
a normal game, but every
Hey,
single Legion member is a middle schooler.
No, TK.
Hmm.
How about this? You know that Macho Man Randy Savage mod for the dragons in Skyrim?
Oh yeah!
How about a mod for the Fallout games where every Deathclaw is Hulk Hogan? What are you gonna handle when you handle these 27-inch
This must
pythons?
exist.
It's
This
just
must exist 100%.
you're walking like towards New Vegas and like that what's this Chomp
Corey
Lewis is you've like fuck off Chomp Lewis, I'm gonna walk past you. He's like, slow down there partner. He's like, you're like, screw him, you keep walking and it's silent, and then echoing in the quarry you just hear this, what you gonna do, like, oh, what's that? Hear another one, what you gonna do? It's like, oh, what? And then all of a sudden you just hear this, what you gonna do when Hulkamania runs over you? And then you're dead.
There are 20,000 Hulkamaniacs ready to run a pain tree all over your ass out there, brother. So tell me one thing, what you gonna do? Oh my god.
The only way to get around him is to offer him cocaine.
Or
It just
or,
you hold it out and it runs up to you and it goes, oh, the smell is just like napalm in my mind.
Oh, you must also add an item, which is like the Gawker grenade, and you throw it somewhere, and he just runs to destroy it. Distracted by Gawker grenade.
Oh,
And it does and it basically when you throw it, it makes the sound. It's like a pie bomb from Left 4 Dead, and it makes a sound of Hulk Hogan fucking. And just
no,
like,
it's the sound
"Ooh,
of him.
destroy
It's the
you."
sound of him
Runs off.
high-fiving the girl and saying, "Good job, brother."
Good job, brother.
like I haven't seen that video, but I kind of want to be honest.
It's like a car crash. It's spectacular but horrifying. Are we gonna get sued by Hulk Hogan now?
Yes, we are.
Oh Jesus. But yeah, what I was saying before is as soon as like New Vegas came out and I loved it, and then Fallout 4 came out and I was like, I like the graphics. Someday someone's going to
What are you talking about?
remake
The
New
graphics of Fallout
Vegas.
4 are fucking shit.
Which one am I thinking of?
Like the last one that came out 3 years ago, Fallout 4.
Yeah.
The graphics in it are terrible.
Well, they're
That was
making
okay.
there's a mod team that's remaking New Vegas in Fallout 4.
Oh,
I've
that
seen
got
it.
got
It
canceled
looks
like 2 years
spectacular.
ago.
Oh, it's back! It's back. There's a different
shit.
team doing it now.
Oh
Yeah,
shit, it's back.
yeah, and they put out a trailer of.
Well, how are they gonna make that? Like, wasn't the reason they couldn't make it because of like weird copyright bullshit with Bethesda?
I don't know. I think this other team is just like, fuck it, we're doing it
No.
anyway. Because they've put out a trailer of like the whole level where you're with the doc and you do your character.
Yeah.
So it's from when you wake up from the bullet shot to when you walk out the door, and it looks fantastic. And I'm to keep this on theme. I'm just like, I'm just thinking like this Borgie company owned by Todd Howard can put out this this garbled mess of Fallout 4, yet these working class proletariat, not alienated from their labor modders, are putting out this pristine Fallout 4 New Vegas mod. I'm like, that is a beautiful example. If only we could take that to the Gamergate crowd and get them on our side.
Yeah. Yo, Barbie, you were thinking about Fallout New California. There was an issue with the New California mode. They're basically making I think they're using the Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, basically. Well, I'm not really sure which engine they're using, but they're making a mod for Fallout, which is like a prequel to New Vegas, and they called it Fallout New California. There is a card game that is coming out called New California, and they thought they will be getting shut down. but Bethesda said, "No, chill out. We're not taking you down. Relax." And they sort of kept on making the mod. On the topic of the mods, there is another one coming out called Fallout Miami. You should check it out.
I heard of that. Yeah.
It looks pretty
That's cool. I'm looking forward to Fallout the Frontier, like when it's completely done. Like,
Oh, Fallout 3 got cease and desist. Potato Gun says they sent a cease and desist to the Fallout 3 remake on the Fallout 4 engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
why?
I'm back to talk about this because I actually know people on the Fallout 4 New Vegas team.
Oh,
their,
shit, son.
their project was never cancelled. It was the Fallout 3 remake of Fallout 4 because the rumors are Bethesda's working on their own Fallout 3 remake. So their project was.
No, if they actually do a faithful remake, I won't even be mad. But the thing is,
So they got a cease and desist on the Fallout 3 mod.
Is
But the
it gonna
Fallout
be
New
like,
Vegas
it's gonna be
mod.
like the mod where it's like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4's engine, or is it gonna be like Fallout 3 remastered and it adds like 6 new polygons? Like you can see the like individual.
I think it's going to be a
you can
complete
see like
engine
the
overhaul.
testicle hair on the super mutant and shit like that. But
Well,
other
they're
than
gonna-
that,
They're putting
Engine
too much
overhaul, I
faith
think.
in Bethesda and Todd Howard at this point.
Yeah, it's a bit dumb. That's why I'm
But
looking
that's the
forward to
thing,
Fallout 4 New Vegas. And
Fallout-
I can tell you that Fallout 4 New Vegas is better than anything Bethesda could do by 500%.
I'm kind of concerned about that
have
because
they
like,
managed? All I'm gonna say is, have they managed to reclaim all the old audio files and stuff like that from Fallout New Vegas?
Yes, they have.
I'm kind of concerned, like, because like the shitty combat was like such an integral part of Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Like that really, like you really kind of like played the game around that, and like I'm just concerned how much of that is going to be lost in transition on this new engine.
Well, they're re-adding broken iron sights that don't actually point at things you want to shoot.
Really?
And
On
they're
purpose?
re-adding, yeah, on purpose.
Ugh.
And they're re-adding weapon
Why?
degradation and all this other shit.
Why?
Weapon
Why?
degradation.
People love the game
Weapon degradation.
the way they discovered it so much that they're putting back in the
All right.
bugs.
I will forgive Bethesda if they remake Fallout 3, but they better not do the thing and add like follower reputation system instead of the karma system. I'll be fucking pissed.
Welcome
what-
to
I
News
don't
with
know
Comrades,
what
and this is
Bethesda- I
Marshall's
don't know what
channel, your
Bethesda's
number
doing.
one destination for Fallout news. I love
No,
the fact that we're just talking about Fallout, and I don't
Surrounded
want
by
to stop
fucking
that.
gamers. It's fucking disgusting.
Oh, jeez.
Fucking gamers.
Gamers rise up.
Liam, microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Gamers rise up.
Isn't there like talk of like a second Gamergate going on?
Oh my god.
I
Oh
I
my
really
God.
hope so.
Why the
don't really see it happening myself because I don't know what it's going to be against.
yeah,
But
what are they pissed at now?
It's like some people were saying like governments are starting to fight back against games with like censorship.
Gamers, rise up! Gamers, gang weed gamers, rise up!
Yeah.
What I
You
really
just-
hate,
It's just so pathetic, really. My god.
I'm getting pissed off about this whole thing because being a socialist and also a gamer,
Disgusting.
it's really
Yes,
fucking
praise.
annoying. I just
Being
can't
a
stand it.
socialist and also a gamer.
Gamer.
Yeah. No, but I know you guys are shitposting, but there are actual like groups and people are like, you're a gamer, but you're a socialist. You can't be a socialist and a gamer. They're mutually exclusive. I'm like,
Do you own things? How can you be a socialist if you own things?
There's a
Yeah.
whole group on Facebook for Paradox games because of the amount of fascists that play like Hearts of Iron 4. Because they'll try to talk like and be like, oh, I had a run as say I tried to turn America socialist so I could try this, blah blah blah, and then all the comments would be like, why are you going socialist America? Don't you know socialism doesn't work? The best way to play is to play fascist Germany, because in real life fascism is great. I'm like, what the fuck, my dude?
Isn't like communism and socialism like unironically the most efficient way to play those games? Like I haven't played
Yes,
Way
they
for
are.
it, but
Victoria
from
2.
what I understand, like if you go communism, it's just like easier basically. It's just
Communism
like,
is OP in Hearts of Iron 4. Communism
that's
is
what
OP.
it was in like Civilization was it Civ Revolution, I think, which was one of the Civilization games.
Civ
It was on like
5 communism is OP.
There is
It was
one
the one I played was on like the
game that
console. I
I
had the Xbox version. If you went communism, your production just increases. So there was like no reason to be anything other than that, pretty much.
Victoria 2.
Victoria 2 is weird because on one side, Victoria 2 communism allows you to do whatever the fuck you want with your production, right? You basically do
And by the
whatever.
way, all this stuff, like the fact that
Right.
communism is OP in games, this is all 100% objective proof that communism is the best system in real life.
I agree.
It actually
the
is.
problem is, I never played Victoria 2 as a communist because there is a big ass problem with the fact that you must manage every single factory that you own by hand, upgraded by hand. So
This
I
is
always went for 100% laissez-faire fascism, and that I had such an amazing run as France. I remember that I had like no taxes, right? Like no taxes, fully laissez-faire economy, capitalists controlling everything, and tariffs were at about 90% or something like that. And I had a fascist government. I didn't have a fascist revolution. They democratically came to power, and we had parliamentary democracy with a fascist majority. That was
So
fun.
literally
We literally
Ancapistan.
had.
You
I was
literally
going to
made
say, this is
Ancapistan.
Ancapistan.
I had an
My
Ancapistan
God.
France, and we were number one.
We're number one. Hey,
That guy died. Rip
England-
that guy.
I know.
England had a communist revolution, and they became like the Commonwealth of Britain or something like that. And it was pretty cool. I had an isolationist ANCAP France, and we just destroyed the rankings there. That was amazing.
I think maybe that's what's going to happen next. Like the alt right have been like bashed and defeated, like being out in the open and whatnot. So they've retreated back into their lounge rooms and their homes, and it's like, well, I'm going to sit down for a nice game of, I don't know, maybe CS:GO, or maybe a game of Hearts of Iron 4. Damn, look at all these fucking commies playing video games. Time to have a fight against them online. So they're gonna make their way like up the ranks of moderation and whatnot until they can start like mass banning commies from every video game ever.
This is the new video game. The new Gamergate will be the civil war between the radicals on video game servers.
Yeah,
That's
that's it.
Oh.
That's the revolution, playing video games.
First we seize the games, then we seize the means.
Ready Player One, but it's the free territory.
This is it, everybody. This is the
WW
revolution.
belongs to the workers.
Create as many Steam accounts as possible and flood the servers of CS:GO.
Just remember that fight between terrorists and counter-terrorists is exactly what the Valve wants. We must seize Dust 2 and make it worker controlled.
The
That's
one with
it.
the Steam account plays CS:GO. The one in the lobby waits. When the one in the game dies, the one jumps in and takes his place.
Hey, you know what? Bringing it back
We
to
should
the old.
hang capitalist with the cords of our controllers.
Yeah. Hang on. Do you guys? I just thought of something here, guys, and I think it's stuck away. But one of my favorite things to come out of Gamergate was the fucking lib. It's hard to say this, but I'll say this: the lib radfem response to Gamergate was the funniest fucking thing ever. Because do you guys remember that program that our friend and our liberal savior and Lord and Master Anita Sarkeesian started?
No, I don't remember that.
The fucking where you had like a group of female pro gamers who would stay on servers of like Call of Duty and CS:GO, and if a female gamer was being harassed online, they could like ask them to join the game and wreck the person harassing them.
True heroes.
This is real praxis. We must have feminist death squads.
Feminist
in games,
death
in
squad.
video games. I support that wholeheartedly and ironically. This is cool.
No, it's
Death
not. It's
squad of
fucking
radical
hilarious.
feminists
I think-
shooting at fucking reactionary fucks.
You
That's
know,
what we need.
in a broader sense, I just realized like one of the main like things that trips us up is like and when I say we, it's like everybody like on this stream and on the chat, you know, actual leftists and Marxists and even anarchists and whatnot. It's like, all right, there's a thing that's happening right now, and it's a fascist 4chan thing. Let's not play into it. Let's avoid it. Let's not play their game, and we can focus on doing, you know, better things, right? And then all of the liberals immediately take the bait, start playing that game, and then ruin it. Because the only winning move is not to play, but the liberals always play. It's the same with Gamergate. It'll be the same with the Gamergate 2 Electric Boogaloo. It's when those bloody like provocateur speakers have a show, and it's like, all right, the best thing to do is to not give them a platform because they want violence to happen to them so they can use it against us. Let's not do that. And then all the liberals show up, fucking ruin it. Also, EML does not advocate violence.
What I'm really annoyed about is I would argue that you could say that Battlefield 5 could probably be considered Gamergate too.
Oh no.
Well, have you seen the pre-order results for Battlefield 5? It's
the
fucking
game
hilarious.
sucks. You know,
It's terrible.
It's not because of the gender politics and shit. It's because
Oh, it
for
is.
example,
There's a huge chunk of it that is.
well,
because
the
it's
game
EA
is fucking
games.
broken. The squad system is broken. You can't revive people in Battlefield. This empty servers don't show up on the server list. It's a broken fucking game.
Eugene, are you a part of the Gamergate army? Have you betrayed us?
No, I'm saying Battlefield
is a
5
gamer
sucks
wanting to
because
rise
of
up.
game reasons, not because of gender reasons.
But
Well,
that's
because
the
women
exact
break
tactic
like,
that
you put women
4chan
in
uses.
games, it just automatically breaks it. It just causes all kinds of technical problems. Women ruin everything.
I'm just pissed off because of the absolute bourgeois liberalism of it that really fucking grinds my gears.
I saw reminders that it's Electronic Arts.
No,
making
but
the
it's
game.
like you know, I'm so pissed off by it because I'm a historical realism fanatic, and I know Battlefield is not 100% historically authentic, but like they go through all this effort about saying how they're progressive and liberal and modern. Like we want females to be represented in our games, so let's put the primary female character in the game on the only army to this day that does not have women in a frontline combat role, that has never had women in a frontline combat role ever. All
What
they
are you
had to
talking
do.
about?
Well, the British Army still does not have women in frontline combat. The US Army even nowadays has it. The British Army has never had frontline combat women, ever. All they had to do to be progressive was to be like, oh, hey, here is a map where you play as the resistance. Or, hey, look at this. You can have an entire battalion of female Soviet soldiers, which actually fucking existed. But instead, they add women everywhere. And then, is the Eastern Front in the game? Nope.
It's one of those things where they're in their attempt to be progressive and inclusive, which is a good thing. They've sacrificed historical accuracy, which is a bad thing.
No, but they've sacrificed historical accuracy in such a way that I would say it categorically appears as erasure. Like, it really does. It really fucking shits me off. Because, like, if you wanted to have female representation, have one of the war stories be about Nancy Wake, because that chick was fucking bananas. Like, hi, I'm a New Zealander married to a Frenchman. I'm just gonna sit behind the lines the entire war and run an entire network of agents getting into gunfights with the Gestapo. But hey, no, let's invent a Cockney woman with a cricket bat with a synthetic arm. Like that's fine. That's
Well, New
fine.
Zealanders aren't people, so that doesn't really count.
Oh, pro tip,
still-
hey, any listeners who are
They've
watching
inbreeded
or
so
whatever,
much with sheep at this point that they cannot be scientifically considered Homo sapiens anymore. Like there's some kind
oh
of
well,
weird.
that is true. But for a heads up to anyone watching or listening or whatever you want to call it, look up a band called Alien Weaponry. Just do it. They fucking rock. Alien Weaponry are a fucking Maori are a fucking Maori thrash metal band, and they are amazing.
Talk about potential comrades with the Maori people of New Zealand as well. Side thing.
Oh, dude, they're awesome. The Maori community in New Zealand are fucking amazing.
They bloody told Molyneux and that other person just to fuck off out of their country.
Yeah, you're gonna be like neo-colonial pieces of shit. No, get the fuck out of here. Leave. We don't want you.
But yeah, that's
We-
just a side note.
We must secure the white race and our future for white children. Yes. On a land that belongs to the fucking islanders. Outstanding. Way to go. What is the future of identity politics? Have you got enough facts and logic with my Brain Force Plus, says Mr. Molyneux. And the Maoris are like, and the Maoris are just sort of sitting there like, nah, bro, get the fuck out of our country, man. just leave.
Quit taking our fucking jobs.
Nah, bro, you gotta get the fuck out of my country. Just leave. Go away. Nobody
Well,
wants you here.
We need a
Yeah,
Maori ethno state.
Yeah, actual do. Make the entire North Island a Maori ethno state. 10 out of 10 would confirm this.
The
This would
British
be-
tried that.
We
A
need a
while
gamer
ago.
ethno state.
A gamer ethno state. What?
What even
An
is that?
entire nation built around the education of it's like the entire
Like
nation
Zionism,
when
but
you're
for
a citizen in it is just
like
gaming.
that needs to be a real ideology.
So your education is learning how to play video games. Your work is making video games.
The gamer ethno state. Hang on. Is that transhumanism?
You know, if you think about it, a
Maybe.
gamer ethno state would win like pretty much any war because like they're gamers, like they practice this their entire lives.
You thought storming the beaches of Omaha was tough? I do that every afternoon with a bag of Cheetos, my friend.
Exactly, bro.
10 out of 10 pretty sure I could win a war on a map table against some of the actual military people. But then again, seeing how Afghanistan and Iraq went, that's probably not hard. A 5-year-old could probably do it.
Potato Gun in the comments is asking for the first Gamer International.
I'm down to found that. Communist gamers. Actually, like, it would be cool to sort of like actually get modding co-ops going, like, because most mod teams are co-ops anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like the New Vegas team is like devoid of their corporate masters saying, "Oh, this really awesome content that you're working on, cut it because you won't make the deadline in order to release on time, which will tie into this movie release." Oh, that cool character it's essential to the plot. Well, we're going to cut funding for that. But why? It's like, well, we need it for the Doritos packaging with the game's logo on it. There's none of that in modding with modding crews because the modders are like, we have no deadline. We can actually take our time. We're not alienated from our product. We can make something good and lasting. Whereas you have people who are stuck under their corporate masters where it's like, you just have to work on this one tiny little
It's
thing.
very hard to like make a decent game when Todd Howard is like sexually harassing you all day, basically.
Hashtag Dr. Howard is a rapist. Talking about that, I remember Posadas Bachman mentioned something really interesting. He said, like, why wouldn't you have like this story about the resistance or the partisans, were completely like all genders, all colors, like French resistance, like fucking killing a bunch of Nazis, rebelling, blah blah blah. It's those stories will never be made if the project is controlled by, like, it won't be made in capitalism at all. There is a very big reason why it won't. First of all, you need a big studio to portray those interesting stories of the history in a cool way. You will never have Battlefield about those things, right? And at the same time, there is a reason. It won't happen for the same reason why we will
I
never have
mean,
for example, Elder Scrolls elsewhere,
I
because
mean,
or because you just imagine a major release where normal looking humanoids are not the protagonists. People will not be able to relate to that. It's really hard to sell a story which is really interesting, right? But it doesn't have as much
Well,
of mass
furry is
appeal.
well, that
I
gets
mean,
dangerously close to being furry territory. So I completely support that. Like I understand that.
uh,
Like
speaking of
you,
resistance and all that, let me remind you that Battlefield 1, the World War One game, started without the French, without the Russian, but with the American in the game.
Wait,
The American were from the start, but not the French or the Russian.
yeah,
It's
So,
the inverse of like actuality.
And the funny thing was, Super America AOK hyper reactionary crowd were actually upset about that, because I remember it, and that was what was really weird to me. We were everyone who plays Battlefield in any remote sense because they like the history of the periods, like, was confused as to why the French weren't in the game. Like we all knew that the Russians were going to be a DLC or something because the Russian front is not that big of a deal in Western culture, but the French were fucking a big deal.
they
And
were like one of the armies, my dude.
and
yeah, here's an
and
interesting part.
I mean, it's combined to the fact that we won't get a French resistance game, we won't get a Russian Soviet front game
Well, we
because
have had a
There's a
American
there's
studio prefers to make things from a burger perspective, where they
yeah.
have to be the
I
good
know
guys.
of I know of one French underground game.
Medal of Honor Underground, the second
Yeah.
Medal of Honor game. That was amazing. Now, if they remade that, holy shit, yes.
Yeah, but like again, you must always think that the stories that are told within the major releases, AAA stuff, they must be relatable to the mass crowd. There is no way they are doing anything weird or interesting or experimental or which
Actually,
is at the same time true.
that's not true. I will give them credit. This I was really surprised to learn what Battlefield 5's DLC is. What its first DLC is for the War Stories pack.
What is this?
Their
What is it?
first DLC for War Stories, which is like basically Battlefield's campaign mode. You know that?
No,
Um,
what's it? What's it about?
the DLC for their campaign mode is called The Last Tiger. It's from a German perspective, which I thought was very, very interesting. And it
That's
also,
very mainstream. They always do that. They always
I
have
can't
the
remember a game where you played as the
interesting German
Germans in a
perspective.
story mode. And you've never played as the Germans in a story mode of any mainstream shooter.
I want a fucking level where you play as Bomber Harris. Like, god damn it, is that too much to ask for?
We have that.
We
AI
do?
Stemovic. Bomb German civilians. It's fun.
I think a lot of these games are made in countries where the lens that is used to view that period of history is very biased. So you have US companies trying to make a World War II game, and the average person is like, "Oh, World War II? Yeah, well, America won that because all the other countries were bad at it. So obviously we're going to have the Americans in it." And then you have, say, a Russian company making it, and they'll say, "Ah, yes, World War II, also known as the Great Patriotic War, where the Russian and Soviet people made the biggest sacrifice. Obviously, we're
Which
going to
they
make a game."
did.
Yeah, because it's actually based in facts. I'll have
And
you
logic.
know.
Facts and logic, epic
Yeah.
style.
Yeah, but you have um say hypothetically a French company that says, "Ah, yes, the war. We're going to make a game about the French resistance because it was a big part of our history and a big part that helped World War II."
I
And
mean,
then you try to have it sell in America, and it just doesn't happen. And I think it's because of that lens, because it's that trying to retell history from their perspective in order to say, "Oh yes, we're strong, we're powerful because we won World War II for everybody."
do you
Why
remember
would
that World War One game, Valiant Heart?
Valiant Hearts was pretty good, yes.
Well, it was made by the French part of Ubisoft.
I loved Valiant Hearts. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
No one cares what you think, libtard.
I just got owned epic style by the Charlie Kirk Brigade, turning point socialism or barbarism.
Yeah,
Um,
bro.
I think we can hear Glatox's mum or something. Go away, mother. I am a shit posting on the internet. I think that's the worst I've ever
French
done.
accent as well as Italian accent is never racist. Remember that. For that
Oh,
case.
God.
I
Well,
think that was the first woman we've ever had on this show. Now that I think about it.
Well, someone was asking in the things. Learn Socialist Justice said, "Where is Mexi?" Tried to message Mexi.
Yeah. Hanging out
Yeah,
with
I don't think she would fit in.
the
I don't think
A-list
she would
leftists.
fit in on this show very well.
no, she's a bit. Isn't she very idpol?
This is like
Kind of, but not really.
hello and
anything
welcome
about it.
to the Anti-Idpol Brigade.
What's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a brocialist class reductionist. Ignore me. I don't know anything about socialism. I apologize.
Yeah,
I
get
shall
out.
stay. I shall stay in my lane and not comment on anything that doesn't affect straight white men. I apologize.
Oh Jesus!
Backman, I believe you have a very deep misunderstanding of the whole Itpol thing because
Oh no, I know exactly what it's about, but the point is, it's everybody who practices it doesn't seem to know what it's about. That's the thing. The Black Panthers got it so right, and then how can you take something so beautiful as the Black Panthers ideology and then go, you know what we need? A big old dose of liberalism. That's exactly what we need. It's horrifying.
but
Come
you
on.
expressed some like radical identity politics in your like in today's stream.
Well, does being like a gamer nationalist count as identity politics?
Well, I don't know. Well, actually, probably. So pretty much the entirety of the alt-right are technically identity politics practitioners. Like, I'm just tired of ad hominems and fucking bullshit, and it
But how
get
can you say that as a straight white male?
and the biggest problem actually, in all honesty, it's the absolute refusal to like separate the ideas from the man, as it were. And you can say you can't do that, but
Oh, excuse me.
bless you. But it's like if someone can make a really good point, but if they don't fit but if someone doesn't fit the particular group or narrative or whatever you want to call it, it's immediately questioned as politically unreliable. The term that Stalinists used a lot, politically unreliable,
What?
and I can't stand it.
You're straw manning.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. I'll strawman. Fine.
That's a straw man because like if you fucking hell, we are discussing like if you are discussing issues concerning race, gender, stuff like that, and you have opinions on it, that's it, Paul. Today we were talking about like Battlefield 5, and now it'd be cool if they told stories about like all female battalions of Soviet Union. That's
That's
it,
great.
Paul.
What about the
for
all
you.
gamer battalions of the Soviet Union?
Well, true. There are them. But again, it's my problem is I'm basing that in historical materialism. That is a fact. It did happen. It happened. It was a thing.
know.
Like, and my problem with is boils down to this huge. What is it actually? Good point. I think I'll quote you. I'll quote you, Eugene. What needs to happen is the complete destruction of ideology. Fuck ideology. It's really, really tiresome. It's getting to that
That's
point now.
impossible. That's impossible before full communism, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right, but it doesn't mean I can't dream.
Yeah. Okay.
It's again, I know, I'm just a
We can hear
reactionary
someone
shitlord.
breathing in the microphone.
It's Gladys.
That's got
It's
talks, yeah.
Gladys breathing. Heavy breathing. .mp3.
It's very
There's
sexy, to be honest.
Darth Frenchman.
It's just my mic, it doesn't work, or I don't know if it works, so I have to bring it closer, and I forgot to put it away when I'm not speaking.
Pac-Man. Are you frustrated with IDPOL as a whole, or the way that to slant it a little, the way that SJWs misuse the tool of identity politics?
The way I define it to my friends when they ask me about this is the answer I always give. I don't hate IDPOL as in the politics behind achieving liberation for all marginalized peoples. I would consider that the liberation of marginalized peoples is a given under socialism. You must be for that. If you're not, then you're not a socialist.
Asshole, dude.
Yeah, well, no. I used to be one. No.
Holy shit, really?
Yes.
Oh
Yes,
my
I
god.
used to be a Nazbol. I used to be an Australian Nazbol, yes. But it sort of came down to you'll go into say, how about this one? I suppose all of you have been on to Anarcho-Communism 101 on Facebook, for example.
I
I think I
don't
got
think
banned
so, actually.
Yeah.
there.
That there is a perfect microcosm of what I'm talking about. It's ad hominems, stay in your lane, being a phrase thrown around.
That's 3 admins.
But I give one example, but I could give hundreds more, like Peter Kropotkin's dank meme stash. They all seem to be anarchist groups, actually. But anyway, I'm not going to go sectarian on this one. Point is, I'm tired. I'm sympathetic, and in fact, and how to put it, not sympathetic, radically for the goals of identity politics. But it just seems everyone's way of going about it is toxic as fuck. It boils down very much into tribalism. Like
Then
everyone forms their own little gangs.
Tribalism and be again toxicity, not identity politics. Like Black Panther Party, good, but it's IDPOL. Hey, how about that? Like,
Well, that's
they
what I'm
were
saying.
toxic.
Identity politics in of itself is not a bad thing because it's a materialist analysis.
Just kind
Anyone
of like a fact. Just kind of something that exists.
it exists. Like you can't you get
Yeah.
these people like saying I don't see color when there are black people being disproportionately shot and imprisoned in the United States. White privilege is a fact. No one is
Well, to
denying
be fair,
this.
you can't see black people if the police have killed them all.
Well, true. Big oof. But yeah, what you sort of then get is you get this like tribalistic mentality is okay, white people are the bad guy.
Nobody
No.
does that. And white people are the bad
What
guys.
world do you
Genocide
live
all
in,
white
Eugene?
people.
Can I go to this paradise where that doesn't happen? Can I go to this paradise
Genocide
where
white
censorship
people.
doesn't happen? Can I go to
White
this
genocide.
magical land? I'm not saying that there's a conspiracy to commit white genocide. I'm saying that you go into spaces which form into gigantic tribalistic groups of fuck this person, fuck that person. And you sort of breaks down into this, it generalizes and alienates people, and it sort of creates this us versus them mentality, and I hate it. There's not a basis for a progressive platform. It's reactionary behavior. Like, everyone knows these problems exist. and then okay, so what do we do about it? And then shuts out the majority of the people who will have to assist dealing with it. The fact that these minority groups are a minority, so they're going to need the assistance or consent of the majority to achieve their objectives. It's mass line. This is Maoism. This is Lenin. So how the hell are you going to achieve it by telling them to shut the fuck up? I don't understand. I want to know.
Because the purpose of many spaces that are organized to help minorities, help women, and stuff like that, don't have a task of political liberation. They have discussions about political liberation, but it's not the ultimate task of this particular space. It's like coming to, like, basically, let me explain. There are spaces on the internet and in real life which are organized literally as spaces where people who have been marginalized could feel don't not feel marginalized anymore. It's the reason why feminist groups don't allow men in there. Why
Well, that's
people of color
perfectly
don't allow
understandable.
in their groups like white people. And the point is that it's not that, hey, stop. It could be tribalistic. It could start to be toxic to some extent, but it is a natural response to oppression. And
I would
like
argue that the only
my
way to
strategy
overcome that.
is not to go to their spaces and like go to my spaces where I talk and try to be as inclusive as possible.
Well,
Because
that's the thing. No one's going to go and invade their space if they want their own. That's a completely different topic. I'm talking about in general socialist circles, which is a socialist group for all socialists. This politics is brought up in there, and those tribalistic mentalities spill over into those groups, where we're trying to form a united front, but these issues constantly constantly cause friction, and I understand why completely. But the point is, I feel that we need to eliminate these sort of divides in our own groups before we can even consider bringing it out to the masses, because we're going to form a split party before we even start. Like the Black Panthers are the best example of liberation that I have seen, and like if I could get, I want them to come back. Like I want them back because they did it right. They had that balance of they had a socialist platform, and then they were openly socialist, but they had a liberation focus for African Americans, and they were effective. They had the first, basically national healthcare system, if you like, for their communes, for their communities. They had nationalized healthcare. They provided clinics and stuff. Like this is the sort of shit that the left should be doing, not addressing oppression by unifying and coming together in a collective effort instead of debating and telling each other to stay in our lanes. It's sort of like we go through all this effort to desegregate, and we're then segregating ourselves. And I guess maybe I'm just a straight white man who doesn't know any better, so fine, I guess so. But still, that's how it feels to me.
language. You can. It was all right until now.
Well, that's
Until
my
we
point.
started to do
It
that.
is reactionary language, but the whole point is what reaction do you want me to have? Because it's what I've been told to do. Like again, class character to words. Words are simply a means of expression. If they are what they say, then so be it. But my point remains, dude. Like, what do we hope to accomplish? Do we hope to establish a unified proletariat which will achieve its objectives? If so, then yes, cool. But the proletariat in the United States and in Australia, the fact remains they are deep set with colonial attitudes, with racial prejudice, and the only way we're going to fight that is as a united front. We can't be using the reactionary language of them just with a minority slant on it. We can't do that. When you're talking
Well, it's
about
more of
that,
a question of liberalism, to be honest.
well,
And
that's
how
identity
liberalism.
politics in the left is endlessly liberalized, especially in the United States. I've noticed that UK and Australian communists aren't really affected by this, but I think that's monoculturalism. I think that's mono ethnicity coming in. But
Maybe. First of all, I wanted to actually do a quick response to you, but I would like to first give a shout out to Z and what's the organization is called? The Socialist Black Alliance, fuck, African American Alliance or something like that. Fuck, I forgot. I will look it up as I'm talking. So basically, yeah, it's more of a question of liberalism, to be honest. And we're talking about United Front. I don't actually see it like that. If you were to approach me like in 19th century and ask me what the Black Socialists of America, it's called Black Socialists of America. Look them up on Twitter at Black Socialists. Um, they're basically a giant alliance of all African American socialist organizations. They're pretty cool. So basically, I don't actually see the United Front as being the strategy that we have to use. We have to go on the issue per issue basis. What I mean by that is there is an issue that the specific group is working on. Let's say there is a business that discriminates against trans people in a city, right? And there is a protest being organized by trans rights groups to protest them, right? What we should do is not to have a one united body of political body responding to everything, but we as little socialist groups have to go and join that protest in solidarity and basically unity in action, not unity in organization, and because ultimately we will closer and closer approach this sort of mobilized working class as a basically result of this sort of work. So, what we are doing now, what I'm saying, what we're doing now in terms of mobilization is exactly what we need to keep doing. Uh, to go to respond to issues, even if we are not like part of these groups, even if we're not, if there are no trans people in the political organization, still go there and allow them to lead, but stand there with a red flag in solidarity. Sort
Well,
of this sort of shit, because ultimately, even if they're liberal, whatever, like maybe even if they don't want to listen to you because you're, even if they're toxic as fuck, right? Doesn't matter. You still come because you support the issue, because ultimately this toxicity, it's impossible to fight it without demolishing those groups, destroying those groups, and disorganizing. Like
I think
that's my big point.
I think Pac-Man might have been saying, if I may, Pac-Man, when you say we show up to these things in solidarity, right? And we wave the red flag. It sounds like Pac-Man's saying that IdPol has gotten to a point where Pac-Man will show up for solidarity and say, "I'm here to support you," and what comes back at him is, "Why are you here, you straight white male? You shouldn't be here. We're here to support these workers and their wage cuts. How dare you come here with your flag of solidarity, you straight white male?" Is that
yeah,
where you're coming from,
I'm sort
Pac-Man?
of going on that front. Yes, I'm saying that when it's gotten to that point where any discussion regarding these issues, if it's not perceived through the exact lens that each one of these groups, these interest groups, no matter what they are, they automatically assume hostility immediately. If it doesn't conform, like you can
That's
show up for
natural.
this, but natural. Then how are we supposed to form a mass? How are we supposed to form a
You
party if
don't.
that is the case?
You
Then what's the
don't.
point? Eugene, what's
What's
the
the point?
point? We're gonna have like
Uh,
this massive split, and then everyone's gonna go their own way, and we're gonna have a bunch of anarchist communes fighting each other.
no. We
Based.
just, as I said,
Shut up,
it's
Barbie.
not
I know
fun.
that makes you your dick hard, but shut up.
Uh, Unfortunately, this is the state of the politics now. Unfortunately, a lot of groups that are oppressed, a lot of groups of people that are oppressed are joining forces and doing political work in the very hostile environment. And there have been multiple cases of those groups allowing they are all intersectionals, I must say. They are all, a lot of them are intersectional. So
Socialism
but
is
we don't
what my point is socialism
Um,
inherently by design
even
is
their
intersectional
spaces.
though.
It's like
we, we
if you come to a trans person and start preaching to a trans activist about class character, of the protest, that will sound like you are trying to shut them down and teach them how to protest, you know?
Well, you
And
can
that's
say
not
that
the way
as much
forward.
as you like, but the point remains. Like International Women's Day and the foundation of the modern feminist movement in the United States was really started by the Socialist Party of America. Again, I get what you're saying. I get that, but I'm saying that this mentality of tribalism is something that we need to get over. It's something that we need to work against. We need to
No,
form
that's
a
something
united
that we
front.
need to overcome by basically intersectionalism. Have you seen what the May Day parade looks in Britain, in London?
Have you seen the May Day parade in France?
Like, in
Where
any country, have you seen May Day parades? Like, it's basically a bunch of people with completely different flags, with completely different stands. The
throwing
Unionists, the
Molotov at the
Stalinists,
cops?
the fucking Mao Spontex guys show up singing songs about Mao Zedong, like anarchists, like the Black Bloc running around trying to look for a thing to smash. All of them are completely not united. If they start to engage on theoretical terms, this whole thing will fall the fuck apart. Like, the point is that there is no need for a mass alliance of everyone. Those people are not allies. Those
I,
people
I
on
am
that
sort of
parade
I
are
am
not
sort of like
allies.
my inner Enver Hoxha is just sort of like, oh,
Just climbing up the
like
political compass now.
like we're talking like revisionists get out um
There is no unity. There won't be such thing as left unity. Left unity is only possible in practice, is in actually doing political work. It's like we keep talking about like building a unified political organization between all the oppressed groups and all the different ideologies. That's literally impossible. That won't happen. The only thing that you can actually do is to be like Mao Spontex, like Gauchist, who said that fuck that, we're just like doing political work. We're ignoring everything else. There are some Russians, left bloc they're called, who claim to be basically Gauchist, and they say that they are the alliance of anarchists and
Gauche.
Marxists, right?
Gauchist
And
just mean leftist.
yeah,
Just
but
for
they're
you.
using the word to mean the united left, basically. Um, and their ideology is, it sounds as if they're building a left unity thing, right? But what it is in practice, I talked to some of them, it means that they have a political group that consists of every single ideology imaginable, of even people who are SOCDEM, like SOCDEM feminists and trans people, trans activists, right? And all of them are there in one group under one flag, even with different flags, just to do praxis, just to go in the streets and protest, to go there and talk to people, to push the Overton window to the left as much as possible. And that's the only viable strategy I see now as leftists. To completely ignore toxicity, to completely ignore problems with theory and how other people do praxis, completely ignore that and push forward. Like, it's why I don't criticize the Black Bloc. I don't criticize it
Yeah, not to
in
like cut
Europe.
you out, but I don't really see, like, based on what you described, I don't really see what the fundamental disagreement is. Like, that sounds like more or less what Posadist is advocating.
my
If I'm
What I
position
right.
hear
is
with like I what I hear from you, Pac-Man, is that we must you're talking about being shut down because of identity politics, right?
well, it's more than just that. It's the I see an inherent contradiction in their methodology, I suppose. Yeah, criticizing other people's praxis. I guess I am doing that. And
I see a lot of problems with methodology
Um,
of YPG and in Rojava. I will never come up to a Kurdish fucking Kurdish rebel, you know, and tell them that you are doing it wrong. Never.
See, I don't think Pac-Man is saying
I
he'd
think
do the
that's
same
kind of
thing.
like a dangerous philosophy to sort of have, because it's like wasn't that even like a meme somebody made a while ago? It's like, oh, it's like the bubonic plague. Oh, we're gonna like pray the plague away. I don't think that'll work very much. Well, what have you done? Didn't somebody like make? Wasn't that like a thing that's like a webcomic somebody made about that? I think that way of thinking is probably a bit like probably not the best.
Well, what
I
I'm
think-
saying is that we all have different opinions on those things, and the only way to actually deal with that is to basically build your own tower and not to demolish the others. Even if the others are terrible, you should build your own, right?
Well, that's a nice idea and all, but what I was more getting at was that the mass line, if the left is to have any success in the modern world, we need to have a mass movement. That's it. Like, the left cannot succeed. We cannot unite the proletariat if most of the proletariat is throwing their lot in with the fascists.
But how are you going to do that? What's the
Well-
ultimate
well-
approach to that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these small groups that you say that they consolidate themselves into small tribalistic groups in order to, create their own, as they say, safe spaces. Those lefty cucks, lol. But in all seriousness, these small tribal groups, and then they form up, and then they agitate against the system, which is a good thing, which is things that leftists should support. But a lot of what I see in those groups is a lot of demonization of many people who you wouldn't necessarily consider. Like, for example, shutting people down in minority spaces, or especially non-minority spaces, rather, on a position because of their identity, right? So because they're white,
Does that
essentially.
happen in your groups that you're a member of?
Yes. I've been thrown out of most of them for calling it out, but yes, it has happened quite a lot.
No. I'm saying is that your groups that you're a part of, like your union, your political organization, and stuff like that, does that happen in your groups? Not the minority groups, not the feminist groups, but in your groups.
Well, I'm not a member of the minority groups because it's their space, as you say. I don't go in there.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is
When they bring that
that's-
sort of politics into the communal spaces, and it happens all the time, as I said, I've been banned from a few groups for calling it out. And all I'm saying is this. I can't understand how we're going to build, like, these minority groups are in there exactly because they are a minority. The only way we're going to affect successful political change is through a mass line movement. And a lot of their strategies is the communal upset of being communally upset with the majority that's oppressing them. Now, I can understand this completely, but the fact remains, the political reality is there's going to have to be some compromise made somewhere. Because if it's not, you're going to get tribalism and eventually tribalistic conflicts on a massive scale. Like, it's just really baffling to see how, you've got all these groups that are militantly opposed to white supremacy, as are socialists. You'll get some liberal identity politics practitioners who will say, oh, fuck the white people, or fuck whitey. Now, we say it as a meme often. But the point is, there are some groups that actually think like this.
Wait,
and
we
they are.
don't actually want to kill all the white people?
Shit, let me grab my gun. I need to commit suicide. I apologize. No, but this
But
whole
you do understand that you're basically building a straw man, because the only group, the minority group in America that I know of, which promotes what you're talking about, are the Black Hebrews. I don't think are a major political organization in America, but their political power, their political task is the destruction of white Americans and liberation of black and Jews as well, because they are fake Jews. The only true Jews are West Africans. Like, they are the only group that I can think of. Other people, when they're saying kill whitey and stuff like that, that means destruction of white supremacist power structure.
Okay.
Like, and I don't really see the problem with that. All I'm saying is that don't join the group that shuts you down. Join another group and come to protest.
So,
Do
so
political
what
work,
do we
whatever.
do? So what do we do?
Tribalism will disappear. Look, tribalism will have to disappear. But the point is that it's not we, you and I and other leftists who will be doing that. It will be the material conditions of the revolutionary age which will push for that.
Eugene
Black
Eugene
Youth
joins
is 2020.
Eugene joins Bordiger's idealism on IdPol.
No,
We will just
I'm
wait.
saying
We will go
I'm
away
saying
eventually.
that the revolution will have to happen if will happen ultimately because we keep working on this. The unity of the proletariat will not happen because of us working towards that. It is never the case. If you look historically, the unity of the working class happens as a response to the reaction towards the revolution.
Well, I have not said anything. I've been saying the same thing regarding something similar to that for a long time. The only thing that unites all of us as a group is the fact that we are the proletariat. We are workers
Hatred
first.
of humor.
Well, all of us, regardless of all these groups, the core aspect of almost all of these groups, repressed minorities alike on all levels, of all races, genders, religions, whatever. The core factor is that they are all of a working class
Gamers.
proletariat. Oh yeah, gamers rise up. They are
They're
all
all
of a
gamers.
proletarian class, for the most part anyway. Class is the only thing that unites these groups. Everything else is subjective from top to bottom. I would argue that that class comes first purely because we can fix that ourselves. The material equality of people and the agitation for social equality will eventually lead to the abandonment of tribalism, but only if we establish material equality first. Now, making a class reductionist, sure, but again, I can't honestly see the successful completion of liberal IdPol's goals and socialist IdPol's goals. I can't see their completion occurring without the elimination of the class structure. I can't see it. Now, intersectionalism is cool.
You're mixing stuff up. May I remind you of the Black Panthers? They ultimately started as a black nationalist group. They became Maoists for a very important reason, not because they were class people first. I would actually argue that they weren't. What they were black national radicals, who saw socialism as the only viable and internationalism as the only viable way to liberate black people. So ultimately, if we are discussing different political groups and ideologies, if a political group does not recognize socialism as being the liberating force and internationalism and intersectionality as the liberating force that will liberate this particular group of people,
Hang
they
hang
are
on.
not comrades ultimately. They are not
Hot-
socialists.
Hot take. Does that mean that Huey Newton is Nazbol gang?
Never thought of it that way.
Huey Newton was a person who saw socialism as a way to liberate black people. They did not seek to establish like a black ethno-state. They were discussing they saw unity with white workers and solidarity with white workers as a way to liberate black people. It was
I bet
ultimately
that's gonna be a mod for Hoi 4 someday, like like a black ethno state in the U.S. with Huey Newton as the leader.
Oh god.
You know what?
That's
10 out of
good.
10 would love to see
But
that.
please, before we diverge, I wanted to finish because it was a long thought that I wanted to express. Basically, um, how I see this is ultimately um, socialism is not for those groups is not a task in itself. Ultimately, it is a way to liberate. It's a way for liberation, and we see it in third world countries as well. Like, for example, you could see, for example, any third world country that had like a Maoist revolution, Marxist-Leninist revolution, right? They didn't. People supported that not because they were communists, like class first, blah 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 blah. It was a practical decision to um, adopt radical left politics to to safeguard the independence, economic and political independence of a state.
Well, you're talking about
To safeguard
Vietnam,
the people.
basically, there.
So, come again?
You're talking about Vietnam, basically, there.
I'm talking about Vietnam. I'm talking about African countries. I'm talking about Thomas Sankara and his party. I'm talking about all of them. Like, basically, socialism for those countries and for many, many groups is a way. It's not a task in itself. For example, for first, it's same for Belarus. Socialism here is literally the only way to safeguard us against Russia and European Union. Like radical left politics are the only thing that could save us. It's not about liberating the working class of Belarus for the sake of it. Like for a first world worker, that would be different, because I'm pretty sure that your experiences as a person in Australia are completely different from my experiences in a second world country in Belarus, right? So I must assume that we must both assume that socialism for us means different things, and they may not be a thing in itself which is the task. The task could be different. Different people might have different approaches. The ultimate thing that we must consider is that some people don't think that internationalism and solidarity are the liberating forces, and they become reactionary occasionally, even, and they become toxic, and they shut people down, and blah 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 blah. And what I have to say to that is, don't join those groups. Just don't. Let them be. Build your own.
We are well over 2 hours now. I think that
Can
might
Posadas
be.
Backman please respond and then?
Oh yes. I was going to say we should probably wrap up after Pac-Man responds, if you'd like to.
Well, it's
Do you have
again.
anything to add? Do you agree with me or disagree?
I agree with you on the sense of that different people have different perceptions of what socialism is and what socialism should be about. But again, in response to that, you're talking about keeping it in people's own groups. Well, that's fine. But what my point is, that type of identity politics and that type of what you could, I suppose, I jokingly call weaponized liberalism, basically. It's spreading into the mainstream socialist movement now. It's spreading into left unity groups like anarchists, tankies, like political groups like this type of idpol. Like, I don't know if you guys remember a group called Snuggly Wuggly Socialists. Don't
I
know if
do.
you
No,
guys
I
remember.
can't say I do,
Oh,
and
you're
I'm
talking
glad
about
I don't.
Facebook groups.
Yes,
Or are you
Facebook
talking
groups
about
is a big
political
group. Yes.
mainstream?
Well, political mainstream in general as well, but again, same sort of thing. But I was in a group on Facebook called Snuggly Wuggly Socialists, and I am in the revived version. They've changed their name now because of different things. But there was a period in that page's history when we had about 10,000 members, and I shit you not, there was an entire meme that was part of that group for about 6 months called the Great Idpol War. And
A lot of people
literally,
died in that war.
oh yeah, a lot of people got banned. Like we're talking like a third of the group got banned.
Never
by
forgetting.
Never forgetting the Idpol War. So much so that we had we had our own like memorial banners made up on Facebook. It was a great meme. But the point was that sort of behavior that I'm explaining showed up in those groups. This is a left unity, like United Front, political theory, anarchists and socialists debating political theory on a materialistic class analysis, all that sort of thing. The liberal identity politics and even revolutionary and liberation IDPOL was creeping into these groups. And eventually they all ended up in that sort of grand conflagration of tribalism. Everyone's starting to pick sides on different issues. I'm like, the first time that happened, I kind of understood where Lenin was going with democratic centralism. I'll be honest, but again, it comes down to this fact that I can't see. My big problem is in the first world, at least, where all of these groups are minority groups. The fact remains that if we're going to achieve a socialist society in our countries, it needs to be a mass line movement, and it needs to have the involvement of the majority. If we start drawing demarcation lines and lines in the sand between different ethnic groups, different cultures, different languages, different things, if we start drawing demarcation lines on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what we can do there, we can do that, what will happen is we'll get tribalism and fragmentation, and the movement will be inherently damaged. And I don't. And while like any leftist, and I know that there's gonna be some people listening to my tirade and just basically decry me as a racist, reactionary piece of shit. But if there's any leftist who unironically believes or agrees with the right wing on any of their racial or social or gender politics or anything like that, you're fucking scum and you're not a socialist. The question of identity and whether or not all identities deserve equal rights and treatment and freedom under socialism is not up for debate. There is no debate there. That is an established
What about
fact.
gamers?
Oh yeah, fuck gamers, fuck us, fuck us. We need to commit ritual suicide. But no, like equality
You
for all
are
people.
reactionary. That's all I'm going to say.
Am I a reactionary? Yeah.
You're
It's not-
reactionary. Fuck genocide white people now. Yeah.
Okay. That's probably a good idea. Come to think of it, fuck the Anglos. Again, I'm going to throw myself on the
Exactly.
bridge.
Okay.
Anglo-Saxon race must be destroyed, devoured, and fed to Africa. That's how we deal with hunger.
Yeah, actually,
Jesus.
you know what? Eugene's edge posting, but he's kind of got a point. But
I never edge post. I do speeches, political speeches. This is my program now.
Well, that's my secret,
Feed
guys.
the
I never
Anglo-Saxons to
stop edge
African
posting.
children.
yeah, but in all seriousness, it's not the matter. It's not that's up for debate here, which is what a lot of people misunderstand. What's up for debate is how are we going to realize those goals, and I just don't think the current methodology of identity politics and how it's sort of being practiced is it, because it alienates, because a lot of their policies and a lot of their like actions and what they say and what they do is sort of like very, how to put it, it's very sort of confrontational and very alienating to the majority group, and that feeds reactionary tendencies, and that's a big, like, the rise of the alt right as a reaction, quotation marks, to SJW behavior. We can meme about them all we want, and really it's fucking hilarious, people wanting equality or what the fuck. But the fact is, a lot of people are getting sympathy for those groups when you adopt these reactionary, like, as we say, don't engage Milo, don't feed into this reactionary hate. We simply come together and demand equality on the basis of equality for itself. And I think that's one of the, look, I'm very bad at wording myself like this. I know what I mean. It's just, I don't see how going in and attacking, and basically I don't see how sinking to the reactionary level is going to achieve our objective. I just don't see it. There needs to be a united front of all peoples pulling together on the same route to achieve a common goal, the liberation of all people, end of. That's me. I know. I'm horrible at wording it, but that's kind of thing. But yeah.
Sort of.
Alrighty.
And I am really horrible at wording like my critique of your opinion, but I
Hey,
try
we're
to
still comrades
best.
here. It's all good. This is part of the
that was
process.
cool. I'm happy that we actually had the discussion about that.
We're still going to keep fighting on it.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
As we are kicking the Nazis in the face with our Russian-made boots, we can have this discussion. As we are unionizing our workplaces, we can have this discussion.
No, literally, we're going to be. Me and Eugene are going to be at the front of a protest line, debating the ethics of identity politics, and then this Nazi's going to like come in and be like, "Well, I think fuck the Jews," and then both of us are just going to turn around and synchronize, punch him in the face.
Fuck
Shut
yeah.
up! You
Yeah.
sit down.
While
We're having a
singing
discussion.
Jewish songs.
Yeah.
Like,
All right.
no.
I think that's a good point to wrap up. Unless anybody else wants a last
anybody else
little
jump
word.
in?
Say their goodbyes at all.
Just become Nazbol.
Okay.
Gang.
I want to thank everybody for joining us for an evening with comrades. Apologies for there being such large gaps in between them. It's mainly because of the shitty internet that I have. But I want to thank everybody in the chat, and especially to Liam, Eugene, Positus Pac-Man, Councilcom, Socialism or Barbarism, and and to Glatix as well. I've been your host, TK Jones. Please like and subscribe us and go to easternmarshlands.com for everything Eastern Marshlands. Don't forget to spread the link of this live stream everywhere you can. Let's get it out there. Let's attempt some form of left unity, I guess. And we'll catch us all next time for an evening with comrades.
Yeah, and before we go, RSP 45 is coming live tomorrow. It's recording today, and I'll edit it on my company's time. Because that's what the real communists do.
That's
is
fucking
edit
praxis.
communist podcasts on the company time, and I'm going to do that and post it tomorrow. It's going to be recorded to be with me and DibDab, and be new track by me going to be teased released on RSP tomorrow. Check it out. I will tease the name of it. It's called American Cigarettes. Check it out.
American Cigarettes. Check it out, everybody.
So it's going to be released tomorrow on the podcast as a musical guest. So stick around for that. Thank you.
Catch you later, everybody.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Capistan.
Goodbye.
Fuck no.